Hey listeners, I want to tell you about the 34th PASA Sustainable Agriculture Conference happening February 5th through 7th in Lancaster, PA. You can register at pasafarming.org/HRN. That's PASA farming.org/HRN. This conference draws a diverse group of rural and urban farmers, educators, advocates, entrepreneurs, community groups, artisans, researchers, policymakers, home cooks and gardeners, youth, and others for 3 days of learning on sustainable agriculture and food systems topics. I went last year and I had a blast and I learned so much. So don't miss more than 80 educational sessions and an expansive trade show. Again, you can learn more and register at pasafarming.org/HRN.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Since 2009, HRN podcasts have been exploring the wide world of food, beverage, and agriculture. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. We've been making cheese in Wisconsin since before we were even a state, which may be one reason why we win so many awards for it. It's what happens when a whole state dreams in cheese. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Hey everyone, welcome to Snacky Tunes. I'm your host, Darin Bresnitz, back with another episode featuring the culinary community of Los Angeles and their response and how they've been affected by the Los Angeles fires. We are 16 days in as I'm recording this. There are some answers, but not a lot. More fires are popping up and more people are being affected, and it is a long road ahead. And one of the communities, while helping us, that is also really affected are the restaurant communities. So in the first segment, I welcome back Charles Namba and Courtney Kaplan of Subaki, Toto, and Camellia, which I had planned on having them on just to talk about their new restaurant at some point this year. But I thought it was important to have them on right now to talk about what's happening to restaurants and how they're struggling. They're just an example of many restaurants across the city who are down 50% in covers, who are struggling to make decisions about outdoor dining with no real guidance, and who are doing their best to keep their employees employed. It's a good conversation. It's an honest conversation. And there's some really good tips in there about how you can support restaurants. And then in the second half of the show, we have Courtney Storer, who's chatting about all the efforts she is doing with an incredible amount of volunteers at her inspiring culinary platform, Coco's to Go. Again, a conversation that we wanted to have where we could focus on that, but we thought it was great to have her on to talk about the organization she's been doing, to give some tips on how if you want to organize and how to take care of yourself if you are volunteering for the long road. It's a great conversation. Very much feels like a warm hug from all three of them. There will be more links in the episode description if you want to support restaurants both in LA if you're here or from afar. And in Monday's newsletter, I'll be providing some more tips as well about how you can support the LA restaurant scene. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Snacky Tunes here on HRN. Courtney and Charles, welcome back to Snacky Tunes. I wish it was just to talk about your new restaurant, but obviously some things came up earlier this year, and we're going to be talking about all your restaurants at large. But first, I want to ask how you're doing. How's it going?
I think on a personal level, all things considered, we're okay, especially compared to how a lot of our friends and colleagues kind of have fared over the past couple weeks. So we're thankful that on a personal level, we're doing okay. And happy to, that, we're obviously feeling the weight of the impacts of the fires and sort of what it's done to the city and to our community. But in the grand scheme of things, we're holding up for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been such a wild time in LA. And of course, without a doubt, and I never had any doubt really, that the restaurant community, despite how much they're hurting, and we're going to get into that in a second, has really stepped up. Yeah. Why is it always the restaurants that feed us in our time, our needs? Like, why is it always them?
It's true. I think I will say, like, just kind of watching the hospitality industry's response to these fires has been, I don't want to say a bright spot because it's sort of hard to say that.
Say it. It is. But it's 100%.
Sort of restored, at least on a personal level, my faith in like sort of the inherent goodness and generosity of people and the kindness and willingness to spend time and other resources that I know that all of these businesses probably lack even in the best of circumstances. Willing to sort of put it all out there has really been something to bring a lot of or small moments of joy, I would say, in this really dark situation. I do think I've been doing some reflecting as well. Like it's sort of in the immediate aftermath of all this, it felt sort of like, a moment to zoom out and gave me some perspective and sort of think about like, it all felt very insignificant what we were doing, but then thinking about it further, it really is, restaurants first and foremost, as you said, are about feeding people. They're about community. We're finding people coming in who have experienced tremendous loss and saying they're just looking for some comforting food and to be around people and to be sort of taken care of. And I do think that is at the heart of what we do. So in some ways, it's not surprising that people who are drawn to this industry are the first to step up in these times of crisis. Not that we have sort of the bandwidth always, but I do think it is kind of baked into the industry in a lot of ways.
I agree. And it's just, there are people who work in the industry who lost homes, displaced, lost revenue, lost family members, just all these things. And yet their first instinct is, how do we help the community? How do we organize? How do we put our needs on the back burner, even if it's for a couple of days, a week, a month, and just offer a warm spot, a hot meal, a cup of coffee, things like that. It's just, it's such a beautiful thing. It's why I've always been drawn to the restaurant community and telling the stories and shining a light. But it's just, to your point, it's, the end of the year in LA, for those who know, it's like, the LA Times 101, and everyone has their opinions on that, and everyone's busy at the restaurants and like, was it a good holiday season? And then it all gets really put into perspective when true tragedy hits, about how everyone can come together and put all those things that we love to gossip and talk about to the side and just share in our love for the city together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the big stories that came out last week was the ripple effect of how restaurants are being impacted. And I think we're going to see that now as, I'm not going to say people are finding their footing. I don't think people are going to find their footing for a long time. But as this month and the rest of the year starts to come into view, restaurant attendance is down. And it's for a variety of reasons. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you're experiencing and what you've been hearing about people who haven't wanted to come out to eat and sit down for a full meal.
I mean, I think this is sort of, how do I say this?
It's a safe space.
It's all just sort of feels like we've been on this kind of continuous trajectory since 2020.
I do think
restaurants have never been easy. At the best of times, profit margins are razor thin, as we all like to say. But I mean, bringing 10% to your bottom line is a truly successful restaurant, especially for kind of small operators like us. So not a lot of room to work with there, even when things are going well. And then it just sort of feels like we've just taken such a beating over the past 5 years as an industry, between of course, the pandemic here in LA in specific, the writer strikes, with the fires, it's a familiar feeling. I will say, like, it, sort of, there is a bit more, I would say, of a playbook in place. At least I felt that way internally this time around. Kind of thinking about when there is an immediate crisis or, threat to our well-being, our safety and security, there is a familiar feeling. I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like March 2020 again, where as a business, we're forced to make a lot of really big decisions that perhaps are outside of the scope of what we thought we would need to do as restaurant operators, in terms of taking care of our staff, well-being and the health and of our community. But yeah, I mean, I think we did definitely see a slowdown immediately. We closed the restaurant we closed early on the Tuesday that the fires broke out, and then we were closed fully on Wednesday, Thursday, and did reopen over the weekend, but definitely saw a drop off. I want to say that first week, probably 50% across the board, right? At all 3 restaurants.
Yeah, about half.
Yeah, in terms of reservations, sales. And, there were some people on our team who didn't want to come back to work right away. So we were able to accommodate them with days off. And a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of them were displaced. We did have a team member lose his home. So a lot of our immediate response was really not thinking about the business levels and more about thinking, okay, we would like to get back open for the people who do want to come to work, whether it's, both to pay their rent or also just for perhaps a distraction from what was going on and to get a little bit of normalcy back for people. But as the sort of days and weeks have passed, it is sort of definitely profound to see the impact it's having on a sales perspective. I do wonder if perhaps some people are having sort of, just like me, are sort of reminded of March 2020, and the initial instinct is that we need to stay home. We should stay home and take care of ourselves and not go out to be at home. And of course, there's concerns around air quality, most likely feeding that as well. But it is hard to sort of know what to do and to make any really considered decisions for the business, because it's so hard to tell when people will start to feel good about coming out again.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the parallels between March 2020 and now, because people were told they couldn't go out in March, and now people can go out, but you just sort of revert to what is the last major environmental pandemic, and people just are at home. And also people are thinking about resources too, where to spend their money, how to support even those that weren't affected. You talked a little bit about going back to the 2020 playbook, and I know a lot of people switched to takeout and different meal options and things like that. Now, obviously you have sit down sort of fine dining on with the new spot restaurants, but would you ever shift to going back to that? Like, hey, like, you can order takeout for us, you can do delivery, we're offering these special things, or is it let's hold on for like another couple of weeks, business as usual, and see how it shakes out?
Charles is,
you never know.
Charles is laughing next to me because I just don't think our restaurants are built for takeout. Like, we did our best in 2020, and we, I would say, like, varying levels of success in pivoting. But I do think I could only speak to our specific restaurants, but I do think a lot of it is about the experience.
I agree.
Sitting in the space and the sort of the hospitality that our staff provides, and having the beverages in the glassware, having the food on plates, like, I think contributes so much to it. And this is, that's not to say we wouldn't do it, but I do think it would really be for us a last resort. Like, I just don't think, I don't think it provides like an accurate kind of snapshot of what we try to do as the restaurants. And it's really hard to try to take, I remember even 2020 trying to figure out, like, how do we even do this food to go? Like, it's always been kind of the square peg round hole for us. So for right now, I think we are just trying our best to sort of, work with, where with everyone is at, and just try to provide the best experience we can for people coming in, and hold out hope that things will eventually kind of turn, that we'll turn a corner on this.
Yeah. I mean, I know you said down 50%, but some people might go like, well, January's pretty slow. Everyone sort of spent their money during the holiday season. Just roughly, like, year to year, January to comparison, and don't feel you have to share the hard numbers, but how bad is it?
I mean, that 50% is year over year. It's not looking, it's not December to January. It's really looking at last, the new restaurant, we don't have any, we opened in July, so we don't know. And at Camellia, the new restaurant also, we have 100 seats and 40 of them are outdoors. So that has also, just, logistically has, obviously that brings a huge loss when we lose that much seating. We are working on a new kind of enclosure for the space and hoping to get it fully reopened this weekend. But that just losing that many seats also, there's, regardless of guest demand, there was sort of no way to keep sales where they need to be.
It's like 40% of the restaurant, the outside patio.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I heard the same from Lasita and other places like that. We should have never gotten rid of those COVID sheds. Just put them in storage.
Right.
I know that people, when they go out to eat, they love posting about it. And they might hesitate on going out to eat because they might feel guilty about posting about it because there are people who haven't lost anything right now. Like money's the same, job's same, no cleanup and things like that. Do you care if people come out to eat at your restaurant right now and don't post and don't tag you?
No, I think I'm not like, social media for me is sort of a necessary evil in a lot of ways. And I recognize that it does, it does drive business. And I think also in times like this, it's really great for community organizing and for helping people find resources. And also just sort of having sort of in moments where we're perhaps busy at work, but also to have a sort of that sense of community around us. I think it's been really great for that over the past couple of weeks. But I understand that everyone is coming from a different place, and I would never feel my only question would be, I hope they liked the meal. Like that would be my only concern, but it certainly doesn't offend me if someone doesn't want to post, particularly right now where I feel like everyone has, different feelings on what's appropriate for the moment. And
yeah, we don't care. I don't care.
No, I get it. I get it. So not to make it so dire, and you don't have to be specific, but in the business of a restaurant, when they're impacted like this, especially, it was like, can LA restaurants get a break? Like, honestly, can they just have a year where nothing goes wrong? But what does a typical runway look like for a restaurant before serious decisions have to get made when you're essentially like your Q1 financial plan goes up, into the ether?
I think, it really depends, I think, on the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think for us, we're lucky we have a business partner who has a lot of understanding of the industry and is willing to, doesn't come down on us, in terms of sort of holding the thread of closing over our head in any way just because we have a bad couple weeks or a bad couple months. There is a limit to that, and we're lucky that we haven't hit it yet. I'm going to knock on wood. But I know for some restaurants, it truly can be a week. It can be one bad week could especially for restaurants that are truly operating on a shoestring, like real mom and pops or brand new restaurants that perhaps have not had any time to build up working capital. That's could be all it takes is having, one or two bad weeks and all of a sudden the bank account's in the red. We're lucky that, Tsubaki at this point has been around for 8 years. So we do have a little bit more stability sort of built into the model, thankfully, at this point. If this had happened when we first opened in 2017, I don't think we would have weathered it. I think that probably would have been it.
Depends on how much money you could lose.
Yeah. And bigger spaces that have, really, really high operating costs. We're lucky in some ways, although things are sort of starting to change. But having favorable rent goes a long way too, where, if your rent burden is manageable, then you can kind of tough it out for a little bit longer than if you're really dealing with a situation where just to pay your rent, you need to be full every single night at max capacity. That can really make a difference. And I will say, good rent deals are getting harder and harder, probably now to the point of it almost impossible to find. I do think that the real estate's hitting a breaking point here. I don't know longer term. I mean, taking aside these immediate crises, like bigger term, that is a huge crisis in LA, just like for housing for everyone. It's the same with commercial real estate.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the first lawsuits were filed today against landlords who jacked their rent up. And be warned, people. Yeah. This is not a time to make money off of those in need. Yeah. Everyone needs a break, and they will come after you. Andy Valdez brought up a good thing last week about the power of the gift card and about what that means for a restaurant. I don't know if you guys offer gift cards, but for those who might not understand it, what the economy of a gift card does for a restaurant, do you mind breaking it down a little bit?
Yeah, we do offer gift cards at all 3 restaurants, and they truly are lifesavers in moments like this because it allows the restaurant to get an injection of cash, but not immediately have to send out the product that goes along with it. So in times when business is down and you're kind of hurting for cash flow, you need to pay your bills for the wine and the produce and the meat that you ordered 30 days ago, and now those bills are coming due. It allows you to put some money in the bank to help cover those costs without immediately having more product sort of walk out the door, and hopefully into a delicious meal that someone enjoyed. And on top of that, it also provides future business as well. Someone gets a gift card and inevitably they're going to come in and use it. And that helps boost sales. It helps boost, tips for our team and have, bring energy to the dining room. Perhaps they get a gift card for $100 and they end up getting a couple extra glasses of wine.
Yeah, why not?
So it's sort of a win-win in that way where it helps us in the now and it also helps our future selves because it does sort of, for the most part, people get a gift card and they're going to use it. So it guarantees a future reservation or future diners.
I get it. I mean, I think there are, I don't want to go into the actual number, but the amount of gift cards I bought during COVID that then just never cashed in.
Oh no.
Well, I felt so guilty. Like when I was at that restaurant, even like it was like a couple of years later, I was like, I'm not gonna pull this out. I'm not. It's okay. But it's a great way for people who don't live in LA, or have been displaced. People naturally be like, well, how do I help restaurants? It's either just buy a gift card for yourself or buy a gift card for someone else. It's a great way to really get, infuse immediate cash. I want to end on a positive note because I know that you've been down 50%, but I like to look at it as that means that the restaurants have been 50% full. So for the people that have come in, what are some of the stories? What are some of the moments that you've gotten to share with those who have been treated to your hospitality in the last 2 weeks?
That's such a good question. We had a party come in to Camellia to the new restaurant this past Monday. We were doing a fundraiser. We were making crepes to donate profits, or excuse me, not profits, the 100% of sales to Mutual Aid LA. And just the response was really overwhelming. I was genuinely moved by how many familiar names showed up on the reservation books, just regulars, industry folks, just sort of, it seemed like we were kind of worried maybe nobody's going to come for this. And it was really, the dining room was just full of like friendly, familiar faces. But we did have one party come in who I've known for years. They used to come, husband and wife would come and sit at the bar at Tsubaki way back when. And we got to be friendly because that was when the restaurant was quite slow. And I would often be one of only a few employees working. And we would chat about sake and life. And I knew that they lived pretty close to the Palisades fire, but certainly didn't want to ask them. And when I saw them, I was pretty elated that they had made the trek all the way over to downtown to see us, and sort of gave them the questionable sort of like, how are you doing? Like not wanting to necessarily pry too much. And their response was sort of like, well, we lost our house, but we are just so happy to be here. They're like, as soon as we saw this, we knew we wanted to come out. It feels so good to be in a place where we can eat delicious food and be taken care of. And we wanted to drink some great sake and also know that it's going to a cause. And for me, it was sort of like, it felt so insignificant, a lot of what we've been doing, but to have someone say like they've sort of lost all of their material possessions, but still, this was still something that they could look forward to and feel good about and provide them with 2 hours or 3 hours of sort of a space away from it, I think really demonstrated for me like what what restaurants are about. I do think like in their finest moments, they transport you elsewhere and sort of out of your day-to-day life. And it's something I think about a lot, and I think we strive for, but rarely fully succeed at. And to have someone say like, that's exactly why we're coming here, was really meaningful to me. And to say like, we wanted to see your staff, we wanted to be around these people. It just sort of reinforced that sense of community that I think is sort of what I've been clinging to over the past few weeks in a really positive way.
It's amazing. It's beautiful. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. Big shout out to Anne as well for helping to set this up. If people want to buy gift cards or come in, where can they go? How can they support?
So we've got 3 restaurants, all have gift cards. Tsubakis are at tsubakila.com, and there's also a link on our website to make a reservation. You're always book through Resi or walk in. We hold some seatings for walk-ins. The sake bar Ototo, walk-ins only. Come anytime between 5 and 10, any day of the week, or between 4 and 5 for a weekly sake tasting. We love to get new folks into sake school on Sundays for those who want to learn more. And then our new restaurant, Camellia, is CameliaDTLA.com. Reservations through OpenTable or just walk in there as well. The bar's available for walk-ins, some fun bar-only menu items too.
That's great. It's a fun time. That's a great time. Well, thank you guys for serving the community. Thank you for all the fundraisers and everything. I can't wait to be back in once we get settled. We have a musical break. And then Courtney Store is coming up next to chat about how she's been helping feed the community. You're listening to Snacky Tunes here on HRN.
keep on lifting up the sheet.
This episode is brought to you by Wisconsin Cheese. There's a reason when you think of Wisconsin, you think cheese. Cheese is a huge part of Wisconsin's history and future. In Wisconsin, the state of cheese, the tradition of cheese-making excellence began 180 years ago, before Wisconsin was recognized as a state. Immigrants traveled to settle in this lush green hills of Wisconsin, bringing their cheese-making traditions with them. These storied skills, combined with the freshest milk available, created a cheese-making culture that is uniquely Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 1,200 cheesemakers, many of whom are third and fourth generation, continue to pass on old world traditions while adopting modern innovations in cheese-making craftsmanship. Find your next favorite cheese at wisconsincheese.com.
Courtney, good to see you. Welcome to Snacky Tunes. Happy to be chatting with you.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, friend. I'm so happy to be here. We've been wanting to do this for a long time.
No, I know. And I wish it was under different circumstances, but I'm glad to be chatting with you now. Let me ask, how are you? How you doing? How's everything going in your world?
I mean, I'm doing great. You know, I'm one of the lucky ones. You know, I feel very fortunate to have a home to go home to. You know, this has been terrifying on so many levels, and has shocked so many to all of our cores. I think that really it's just taking things day by day, literally hour by hour, and trying to stay as positive as I can for the team.
You know, we're going to get into what you're doing, but there are a lot of people who've had to step up and lead teams, and there aren't a lot of answers, and there's no clear path. And it's going to be a long road ahead. So how are you doing it? Like, what are you doing to balance doing everything you can, but also supporting those who are looking to for leadership, and then also supporting yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Wednesday morning, I don't even know what day it is right now, when the fires first happened.
Yeah.
The day after, you know, I picked up a family member from the Pasadena Civic Center that was evacuated from a nursing home in Altadena. And I looked, you know, to my left and to my right, and there was so many incredible people helping. It is one of the most touching things that I've ever seen in my life. But it really sprung me into trying to do what I know how to do in a time when it felt really terrifying and scary. And, you know, the news, but never mind the news, you could see the smoke and the fire, of course. We were living in it. I live in South Pasadena, and I was in a state of shock, but I also thought, what can I do to help? How can I help? And it really stems from loving this beautiful city so much. LA is my home. It's also been a significant part in my journey within food, working in restaurants here, getting to know the chef community here. And so I opened up my doors at my home. I have a culinary kitchen there. And I was like, pasta can cook really fast and I can crank it out. You know, I know how to do that. So, you know, I just tried to do what I thought like a Nona would do. What would, you know, so many people in tragedies and times of terror, you know, food has a power to touch the heart. And I just thought I'd start with doing that myself and invite anyone else to join along.
It's so amazing. And that's what I've seen about the culinary community here, is that their first thought was, how do we help? How do we feed others? For those who might not know your company and like what you do, what I love about it is that it is part of the culinary community. It's not a restaurant, and it does something a little different, and it's awesome. So can you just quickly explain like what Coco's is?
I mean, we're building this plane as we're flying it, Darin. I'm figuring that out too. But, you know, I've been private chefing and catering through Coco's to Go-Go. I've also, you know, developed an Italian ice that I run for events and things like that. But really my passion is in creating Nona style food and getting it to the end user at home, I've been working hard to develop ways to get this product out there in the community. Coco's to Go-Go is building more momentum in the current space right now because I feel like I'm finding my voice alongside the incredible, volunteers that have shown up for me. And also it's helping me kind of find this need and talk to it, the need of this community that is so devastated all over the city of Los Angeles, East Side and West Side, everybody in between included and beyond. It's like, this will forever change things here. And I think with my business, it's continuing to take shape. I would say in this current moment, we're getting our website set up so that people can gift these meals to families that are displaced. We're working with World Central Kitchen to do the larger service style, the sandwiches and the hot meals we're getting to the first responders, both in the Palisades and from the Eaton Fire and on the East Side. So Coco's is kind of in the mix, working as a catering company where we're just doing larger format meals for families currently.
I mean, that's amazing. And I think a lot of people see what's going on with volunteer work, but don't know how to get started. And it's easy to see it up and running and things like that. But I'd love to hear about what tips you could give for someone who's like, I want to volunteer, I want to do something. What do they need to do? How do you get people to show up?
Well, honestly, it all matters. That's the thing to start with, is that all effort, with intention is significant. And I think when it comes to volunteering, if there's something where it's like from a note to literally making a delivery to providing some sort of goods, jumping in means kind of just allowing yourself to step in spaces where you may or may not be useful and being able to listen to the community. Listen to the community is the most effective tool that we all have. If something, really resonates with you and you can participate in it, that's a wonderful thing. But there might be something, coming around the corner that people are going to need. And I think, I'm happy to have any volunteer show up on our team. And I think a lot of chefs are feeling that it's just an issue of space and productivity. And also sometimes it's showing up for just hands or taking the garbage out or giving a hug or writing a note. I really think just being ready to participate in the long game is really important to consider. We've all in LA never experienced this before. I know I haven't here. And looking ahead to 1 week from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, where people might be burning out from volunteering, that you might have to be on the bench for a minute and then jump in a couple weeks. But really intention is everything with volunteering. I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to do it if your intention is in the right place.
Yeah. I mean, the long road is definitely ahead of us, and burnout is real, and finding that time for yourself to like put yourself out of the game for a second so you can step back in is really important. What is a long game plan? Like, I know we're sort of, like you said, building this as we go, but how does this stay sustainable? What support do you need from people, institutions? Like, what does this look like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months from now? Like, is there anything that that you're going to need?
Well, I think strategy is paying attention and taking this day by day for me. Like I'm saying, I'm listening to the community. I'm getting to know where people are located, where we can get food to. We are secured in a space for the next 6 weeks. And
Amazing.
then from there, we're looking for another space to work out of and more of a commissary style. So I can, bang out a little bit more quantity and have the storage space. But really it's look, this is going to be a long game. And it's going to be 3, 4, 5 months, a year, and that's just the reality of where we're at. But I think the structure that I'm trying to stay within, especially in building a team, is sort of like, hey, we got to take it week by week. We have to learn from what we're seeing in the community and what things people actually need. and how we can deliver on them so that there's not a fatigue. The strategy, part of the strategy is really just taking in as much information as we can, and communicating as much with the community that needs these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's popped up a lot in feeding people is feeding people with dignity and not just giving them like the same meal every day, making sure that they feel like their needs are being taken care of, special dietary restrictions and things like that. One of the things that I loved about what you're doing is it always looks like a different dish and something like that. How do you plan for that? How do you pick the food, or it's just like they showed up today, so it's kale salad?
Well, this is such a team effort. Nothing that I've been making isn't my own genius idea. I'm getting such wonderful donations. I mean, we've had pasta donations, tomato donations. My friends from Italy have helped out and sent things. People all over around, not only the Los Angeles area, but beyond. And really what we're trying to do is obviously like someone's grandma made it, something that like a Nona would make is really what we're trying to do. And give something that feels balanced and healthy. People need fuel. Yeah. They need heart food. They need stuff that's going to make them feel like they got a hug. And so I have been so amazed and incredibly inspired by so many chefs. The food that I'm seeing from Little Fish and the menus that they're switching up. And
we've had it. It's great.
It's just unbelievable. And like Carla from Chainsaw, and it's like you see everybody kind of coming together and taking this so seriously. And the thing is, it's bigger. We all need each other. Yes. When I'm looking at what people are doing, it's so inspiring and it's motivating to continue this effort and continue to be there for our team, our people, our community at large, and pull together. I think, coming from and being from Chicago, I was always surprised, the impression that people had of Los Angeles. And it's like, if anybody can see, I wish more people could see just how effortless it has been feeling for people to show up for one another, for people to stand next to each other in the unknown and kind of offer, a hand is beautiful, is a really beautiful thing. And we got to keep it going. That's the thing, is keeping it going.
It really has been beautiful. And just the immediate outpouring of LA as one city, when it really is so many neighborhoods, can really be felt from everyone here. I want to talk about some of the people that you've helped. And if you could share any stories, I'd love to hear them, just the reactions and what you're seeing and talking to these people.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're the heroes, the first responders, the Darin, the people who are losing their homes and getting up and fighting for the day and not knowing what the hell to do with insurance. I can't even imagine that process.
Yeah.
I have so much empathy for what everyone is going through. But what I'm seeing is, people using their social media to teach tips and tricks on how to, get through the day, how to talk to an insurance company and manage this whole process. And then I'm seeing, on the front lines and the Palisades, as well as for the Eaton Fire in Pasadena, is the fearless first responders. I mean, for them, this is work. It's work that is so terrifying and scary, but they're so brave and courageous. And it's like, I see that kind of heroism, and I'm just like, all right, let me just feed you.
Yeah.
Let me just, y'all are doing so much, and you have communities coming up to support these efforts to clear brush. And it's just been so amazing to see. We've had families that have been very touched by the food that we've been making, and there's more of that to do. I feel like really what's been motivating is showing up with this incredible team of volunteers who, some of them themselves have lost homes. Their families have lost homes, and people who, everyone knows somebody who's lost a space here, an institution, somewhere they went to for church, their own home, their family spaces that they've owned in generations within their family. So hearing everyone's stories and being there for each other around food has been a really contagious thing that I think we've been able to bring out into the world, and we will continue to do that. But I think what's kept me going is just the team's encouragement, the team's positivity. The volunteers that are like, this is so important, bringing community together. I haven't felt this in LA before, and it's a real silver lining in a really new and unknown territory that we're all facing.
No, it's something that's going to last, I think, with a lot of people for a long time. To keep the things going and keep things that I know you need donations, and there are people here who want to donate that are in the city, but there are also people from afar. What is the best way to help you or other people who are cooking for the community?
Yeah, I think right now with Coco's, we're getting our website up so you can gift a meal to a family so we can continue our efforts. We will have to switch into some sort of format where we can pay our incredible team here. People need jobs. People need to work. I think supporting restaurants right now is super important. If you can, to go and see some of these chefs. They are there for you. They want to see you. They want to feed you. I know that people are really sad and bummed out right now, but supporting restaurants to keep them alive is super important. And yeah, for us, we'll have more information on the website, but really we're working within parameters with what donations we get food wise. And then of course on our website, you can gift the meal, but then also, we're working with World Central Kitchen. So we're doing a hybrid. We are in hybrid territory.
Yeah.
But just doing our best to add to the collective good that's happening here in LA.
Well, Courtney, I cannot thank you enough for organizing, for taking this time. What are the websites? What's the Instagram if people want to donate a meal, follow along, offer their services? Yeah,
so we're at cocos2gogo.com, and you can find more information directly from me on my Instagram. It's Courtney__store. I'm trying to get better at my Instagram. I'm working on it. But you'll find the information on the website for sure.
Amazing. Wilson, thank you. Thank you to CJ for helping to coordinate this as well. From the deepest part of my heart, thank you for everything you're doing. It means the world to us. We have one last song from the archives here on Snacky Tunes on HRN. We will see you next week.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Snacky Tunes is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.